Critical thinking provides you with the skills to analyze and evaluate information. With these skills, you're able to obtain the greatest amount of knowledge from a piece of data. It provides the best chance of making the correct decision and minimizes damages if a mistake does occur. Our critical thinking workshop will lead your participants to be more rational and disciplined thinkers. It will reduce their bias, which will provide a greater understanding of their environment. This workshop will provide your participants the skills to evaluate, identify, and distinguish between relevant and irrelevant information, which will provide an incredible boost in performance.
Critical Thinking. Module 1. Getting started. Critical thinking is vital to any kind of success, including your career and beyond. Simply put, critical thinking is a questioning approach to form a judgment or conclusion. It encourages reflective and independent thinking to guide us through the hundreds of decisions that we make throughout a week. Having these skills provides you with the best chance of making an informed decision. Everything and anything can be a subject to question with critical thinking. As problems are bound to come up in any organization, it's important to know how to address these challenges with good reasoning and logic. Utilizing your critical thinking skills will lead you toward being a more rational and disciplined thinker. This workshop will provide you the skills to approach problems critically, as well as recognize the power of open-mindedness and altering your perspective, in order to make the best choices. Module 2. Understanding critical thinking. Critical thinking skills are valuable for everyone. They help guide us through a world of information. While we are consistently thinking throughout the day, our critical thinking skills may provide us with the greatest value. Critical thinking is all about ensuring people make the best choices based on the best information. It involves the consideration of reasoning, logic, and reflective thinking to form sound arguments and decisions. Whether in your personal life or in your professional career, it is important to be able to form rational arguments that support your beliefs. Critical thinking is more than just thinking. It involves a deeper level of thinking that goes beyond our everyday basic thoughts. To think critically means to question ideas and conclusions by analyzing, assessing, and reconstructing concepts. Critical thinking helps you to determine which actions are necessary to create the best solution to your problems. A critical thinker does not accept facts at face value. Instead, they analyze these facts to gain a thorough understanding of the topic at hand. As a result, critical thinking can encourage individuals to be open-minded and gain better control over their own learning. Thinking critically includes asking questions, including: what is happening? Why is this important? Who is seeing this? How do I know? What other possibilities exist? Everyday decisions have a significant impact on our quality of life. In order to make good decisions, it is essential to have good critical thinking skills. Critical thinking can help to ensure that you will live your best, most successful life. It enables you to better express your beliefs and ideas, while also improving your communication skills with others. As a result of improved communication, there will be fewer misunderstandings and frustrations. No matter your path or profession, critical thinking skills will always be relevant and favorable to your success. Our economy depends on information and innovation, in which strong thinking skills are required to build these strategies. Although we often fail to notice the importance of these skills in our everyday life, they are one of the most desirable skills for the workplace. Employers will often look for candidates who evaluate problems using logical thoughts, since they are more likely to offer the best solutions to these problems. A critical thinker is trusted to make independent decisions, as well as work with others to solve problems quickly and efficiently. Although critical thinking is necessary in today's world, it is not necessary to think critically all of the time. Opportunities arise in our daily lives in which we need to face problems and decisions using powerful critical thinking abilities. When the outcome of the situation or problem will make a significant difference to you, a critical approach should be applied to the situation. Think about whether it may be life-altering or if it will matter to you in the future. If critical thinking is not applied to important situations, it can result in a loss of financial resources, opportunities, relationships, or various other aspects in life. There are many instances in life in which critical thinking should be applied. Examples of when to think critically include choosing your career path, weighing out the pros and cons of your career options, evaluating specific online information, assessing sources and publications, risk assessment, considering legal consequences, profits, or injuries, talent hiring, using objectivity, and avoiding biases, such as age or gender, purchasing decisions, considering your money budget or reading reviews. Logical skills are significant for rationalizing important decisions. There is a strong relationship between logic and critical thinking. Logic is applied to a critical thinking situation, in which logic helps to separate truth from falsehood. Logic is the branch of philosophy that gives the rules for deriving valid conclusions. A conclusion is valid if it results from statements that are accepted as facts. For example, a logical statement might be 1 plus 1 equals 2. If a statement does not follow the rules, it is said to be illogical. Logic can be applied to critical thinking to distinguish between good or bad reasoning. Logical thinking is a process which involves steps. In general, logical thinking involves checking the components of the argument and making connections between them, which is what we call reasoning. The 4 major steps of logical thinking are: asking the right questions. The logical thinker should begin reasoning by asking many questions, such as what are the premises? If we are confused about the premises, we may make mistakes further down the line in the logic process. It's important to check to see if any premises or vital information is missing. No conclusions can be made without premises. Organizing data. We can organize the information by making connections. An effective method of organizing data includes breaking up the information and diagramming, or laying out the premises. Evaluating the information. After organizing the information, the logical thinker can proceed with evaluating it. Evaluating information involves determining whether the information is valid. Conclusions cannot be made until a distinction is made between truth and validity. Drawing conclusions. Once the data has been collected, organized, and evaluated, we can then draw conclusions. The logical thinker should infer only what the data implies, check to ensure inferences are consistent, and identify underlying assumptions. An individual's ability to reason well is considered a critical thinking skill. Many of the definitions of critical thinking tend to focus on a person's ability to reason. Reasoning occurs when we use our knowledge of one thing, process, or statement, to determine if another thing, process, or statement is true. Reasoning will help to strengthen your ability to draw logical, sensible conclusions. When we apply reasoning, we use logic to determine what follows what. Human reasoning does not always follow logic and can often be based on emotional bias. The 2 main forms of reasoning include deductive reasoning, when we use our prior knowledge of 2 or more premises to infer a valid conclusion. Inductive reasoning, when we gather data or make observations that lead to a hypothesis or conclusion, much like the scientific method. Jim and Betsy, who work in HR, were asked to complete and evaluate interviews for a new hire with the company. After the interviews were completed, Jim suggested that they should hire his close friend. However, Betsy did not agree with Jim. Betsy told Jim that they should use critical thinking and proper reasoning to determine who would be the best candidate for the job. She reminded Jim of the importance of being objective and avoiding any biases when making this decision. After all, this would be an important decision that would make a significant difference to the company. The 2 sat down and began analyzing their notes from the interviews. With careful consideration and evaluation, Jim and Betsy were able to conclude that Mark would be the best candidate for the position. He approached the interview with professionalism, confidence, and displayed excellent critical thinking skills with the interview questions. Module 3. The critical thinking process. Every day we face challenges in which we are required to assess, resolve, and use our ability to reason. Rather than being a passive recipient of this information, critical thinking encourages you to become an active listener and follow a disruptive pattern for thinking. Critical thinking involves having a conscious awareness of your thought process. To effectively achieve the best outcome, there are elements and steps to guide you through the critical thinking process. The steps of thinking critically will take you from conjecture and assumption, to authenticity and facts. As humans, we are constantly observing the world around us. Observation provides us with a clearer vision, and can direct us to the right path to identify and solve problems. To begin an analytical process, it is necessary to observe your surroundings. A great critical thinker will have a keen sense of observation. They will listen attentively, and notice minute details in both verbal and nonverbal communication cues. Observation begins the critical thinking process by identifying the problem, its significance, and who might be involved. A critical thinker will ask questions to acquire a deeper understanding of a problem or argument, including, what is the problem? And why do we need to solve it? Great observation skills can help too. Foresee problems before they occur. Detect fallacies others may have ignored. Recognize opportunities for growth and improvement. Create solutions that had otherwise gone unnoticed. Once the problem has been detected and the goal has been set, the next step is to collect relevant data and understand what that information means. Analysis is a key element to the critical thinking process. Analyzing something requires consideration in great detail. It involves breaking down complex information to smaller parts, in order to reach a solution or gain a better understanding. It's important to learn as much information as possible about the problem, including facts and evidence. Analytical thinking skills are essential for determining reliability, as well as whether the information offers support to the hypothesis. Analyzing information typically requires trial and error. You want to be sure that you have the correct information, so challenge your sources to discover multiple perspectives. The critical thinker will only gather information that is unbiased and supports their goals. Making inferences simply means coming to a conclusion based on evidence, going beyond the obvious and seeing what lies beneath it. It involves assessing whether the information and data you have collected is both reliable and sufficient. This conclusion is determined by analyzing information. We proceed to make statements about the unknown, based on what is known. Rather than quickly drawing conclusions, inferring is about educated guesses, as well as personal experiences. For example, if a coworker comes to work using crutches, then they hurt their leg or foot. If the sky is gray, then there is a chance of rain. What you may not realize are the mental steps you actually went through to make that inference. You observed the situation, analyzed what you saw, and made a decision about the situation instantaneously. When it comes to explaining and discussing possible solutions with others, effective communication skills are crucial. Communication includes both the sharing and receiving of information, whether it is verbal, nonverbal, or written. It's important to share your information clearly, in which critical thinking will help to breed a clear thought process. Effective communication with others involves convincingly sharing the thought process of your conclusions to those around you. When critical thinking is applied to listening throughout this process, you will be able to effectively and efficiently form a proper response. Communication can often be an overlooked element in the critical thinking process. Failing to include clear communication as part of your process can lead to confusion and misunderstandings. To avoid this, consider your audience and their level of understanding of the information you are about to relay. Do so with respect for the thoughts and views of those you are engaging with, so that you get your point across effectively. Critical thinking can help you to form practical solutions, whether it is for issues in your workplace, or difficulties in your everyday life. After you have detected and analyzed a problem, as well as organized the information into relatable content, your final step is to choose and execute your best alternative and put it into action. Problem solving will require you to consider new ways of doing things, or generating new ideas. It will help to determine whether your solution is working in relation to your goal, and evaluate which methods work best in which situation. It's important to be specific about what you want to achieve, since this will help you determine what information is relevant. Ethan, the manager for a furniture store, had noticed that profits were low lately. Being such an important issue, he knew he had to sit down and figure out the best way to solve the problem and increase profits. Ethan decided to break the problem into smaller parts so that it would be easier to tackle. He knew that a profit problem would be related to revenues, cost, or both, so he analyzed each of these factors. With this analysis, Ethan was able to determine that the sales were consistent, but the wage costs had increased significantly. Based on this information, he determined that if wages were up, then there was an issue with the schedule. When comparing the schedule to the previous quarter, he realized that on weekdays there had been an extra person on the floor. Ethan approached his supervisor, Kennedy, and explained this issue to her. Together, they were able to effectively and efficiently work through the issue, and within months, had noticed that profits were increasing again. Module 4. The benefits. Since the need for critical thinking is all around us, we can all benefit from expanding our critical thinking skills. Developing these skills will have spin-off benefits. Not only are you improving your quality of thinking, but you are also developing your confidence, knowledge, and relationships with others. Critical thinking is the key to driving growth and success, both personally and professionally. The more you practice critical thinking skills, the more positive outcomes you will experience. One of the most important factors to creating a life of happiness is maintaining a growth mindset that thrives on challenges, or sees failure as an opportunity for personal development. Becoming a critical thinker will help to increase your happiness by allowing you to better understand yourself, your motivations, and assess the strengths you have to offer. Critical thinkers recognize the importance of freeing themselves from negative thinking or cognitive biases. The quality of life you have is dependent on the quality of your decisions, in which critical thinking will help to shape great decisions. Critical thinkers will remain optimistic by having a goal in sight. Every day we make hundreds of decisions that can significantly impact our future. Needless to say, critical thinkers make the best choices. Critical thinking will help to serve as a guide to develop your problem-solving skills and make the right decisions. In fact, it is one of the most fundamental parts in solving any problem. Logic, critical thinking, and problem-solving use some of the same cognitive processes. Critical thinkers will carefully evaluate all of the available options to decide whether the final choice is sound. This process includes weighing out your options and considering the likely effects of your actions. Individuals will have a better understanding of the importance of refraining from the pitfalls of fallacies and cognitive biases. With critical thinking, you leave the guesswork with decision-making behind. Critical thinkers use their problem-solving skills, and not just their intuition, to make decisions or to draw conclusions. Learning critical thinking skills will have a significant effect on your overall communication skills. Critical thinking is what drives strong communication. It's a tool that builds on thoughts or feelings to create a clear thought process, and helps deliver messages in a concise manner. Critical thinkers have confidence in their communication abilities. There is no denying that it is easier to communicate to others when you are well prepared to address arguments, facts, and solutions. Effective communication skills are helpful in all aspects of life. These skills help to avoid misunderstandings that could create potential conflict, as well as promote the building of trust and stronger relationships between individuals. Critical thinkers are also able to analyze how other individuals are thinking, before they choose how they will respond themselves. Everyone can benefit from the results of improved communication that has progressed through critical thinking skills. Persuasiveness is a great tool for professionals in every industry. Whenever we want others to accept our ideas, we can do so through the power of persuasion. Persuasiveness is a characteristic of being able to influence others, elicit others to act in a particular way, and present constructive arguments. Persuasive arguments require a logical mindset and reasoning skills. If you want to persuade someone towards a particular outlook, you need to provide them with the facts as to why this would be a sound choice. It's crucial to have facts that will help to support your view. Critical thinking is a deliberate or thoughtful process. The more deliberate we are, the better we are at expressing our assumptions and persuading others. Tips for improving persuasiveness. Make it logical. Make whatever you are presenting realistic. Provide information in a sequence that's easy to comprehend. Use graphical aids, such as diagrams, charts, etc. Use analogies, metaphors, and comparisons. The success of a business depends heavily on teamwork. Critical thinking will help to foster team building by encouraging individuals to problem solve through brainstorming and analysis. A stronger, more innovative team is built when people are able to respect one another's differences and perspectives, and a safe space where they can express and develop ideas exists. Putting these skills into practice can lead a team to a unified stand on any issues that may have been holding them back from progress. By asking vital questions and pointing out interesting solutions, you can pull your team together to come up with the most creative solution to benefit the company. There was an open position in management at Jane's company. Jane knew that in order to show that she should be promoted, she would have to improve her skills as well as implement them. She decided to take a class on critical thinking skills, in which she learned about valuing perspectives, the importance of effective communication, and other skills that would be beneficial to a manager position. When Jane returned to the office, Steve and John were in an argument. She decided now would be a good time to use her skills. In her class, she learned about building a stronger team by respecting one another's differences and perspectives. Jane took this into consideration, and offered a safe space for Steve and John to express their ideas and viewpoints. With Jane's help, the two were able to communicate their issues with each other, and found a positive resolution to the problem. Her boss took note of her new skill set and decided that Jane would make an excellent manager. Module 5. Characteristics of a critical thinker. Critical thinkers have a unique way of thinking, exploring, and understanding the world that we live in. Not only do these individuals have strong thinking skills, they have powerful characteristics that help to strengthen their critical thinking abilities. A critical thinker will have a set of characteristics that influence their motive to conquer challenges, as well as achieve their goals. Since critical thinkers are always looking to expand their knowledge, they will often take advantage of the many opportunities around us to apply critical thinking skills. An individual's ability to think critically is strengthened by being self-aware. Self-awareness is about knowing yourself and understanding your motives, thoughts, and feelings. This includes knowing your strengths and weaknesses that can guide your decisions, so that they will be best for you. Someone who is self-aware will not simply rely on what the external world is telling them, but rather they will explore different sides to the situation. A critical thinker will understand the importance of making decisions based on rational thought that involves consideration and analysis, instead of emotional responses that are influenced by personal biases. Self-awareness involves understanding your biases and knowing when to put them aside. While self-awareness is important for critical thinking, the ability to think critically will in turn help you become more self-aware. Self-discipline is a key driver of progress. It is one of the most important aspects needed to achieve excellence. Critical thinking is a self-disciplined action that encourages individuals to think more effectively and efficiently. Critical thinkers have the motivation and willpower to focus on independent reasoning, without others influencing their thoughts or actions. Self-discipline ensures that your mind and energies are focused on your end goal. Critical thinking requires you to use your own reasoning skills and to be able to evaluate and reflect. One important thing to consider is that people who are critical thinkers are commonly more empathetic and aware of their surroundings. They show a commitment to self-development and strive to make their environment a better place. A core trait of critical thinkers, as well as many successful leaders, is curiosity. A critical thinker will be curious about the world and their surroundings. This includes maintaining an open mind and continuously gaining a deeper knowledge. Curiosity is a driving force of critical thinking and the unlocking of possible solutions. It encourages us to ask questions such as, why is it that way? Or how does that work? A curious individual will have a question for almost anything, as a means of seeking truth. A curious mind will examine situations from various perspectives. Curiosity is all about wondering about alternatives, which involves appreciating other beliefs, viewpoints, or cultures that are not the same as their own. In general, a critical thinker will have broad interests and be curious about diverse topics. Creativity is a characteristic that fuels critical thinking. A critical thinker's mind is always active and looking to explore new ideas or approaches. This includes using one's imagination to form connections, while applying logic to judge these connections. Rather than following the standardized formats to solve a problem, they will test different methods to seek alternatives. With the ability to think outside of the box, critical thinkers will generate new ideas and inventions. Creativity with critical thinking is especially important for professional settings, since it helps to achieve effective outcomes and business growth. Not only does creativity encourage you to think differently, but it inspires you to make a difference. An important part of being a critical thinker is being willing to admit and accept that you have room to grow intellectually. By being humble and acknowledging your intellectual limitations, you have the ability to grow and learn more. It's valuable to be aware of both your strengths, as well as your flaws. Humility is all about being modest. You are able to see alternative perspectives, and are open to new ideas or suggestions. A humble individual is willing to admit that they were mistaken or are unsure. Humility is the opposite of arrogance. Being humble allows you to accept and see information in a way that is not filtered through your ego. John was asked to design a corporate-style website for his local college, with the goal being to attract applicants. John used rational thought when brainstorming ideas, and decided that the website should offer an information package of the college. After putting in hard work and completing most of the website, John realized that he didn't think about the situation as a student, and only built the website based on a parent browsing for their child. When John returned back to the project the next day, he had a fresh mindset that was curious to examine the situation from different perspectives. He took the time to learn about what the student would be looking for on a college website. By having the perspective of what a student would see, he realized that the website was missing on-campus recreational activities that students would be interested in, such as the pool, gym, and intramural sports. After finishing the project, the college was very happy with John's creative abilities, and launched the new and improved website for college applicants to see. Module 6. Improving your skills. Part 1. The ability to think critically does not just happen, it's a learned skill. With endless amounts of information in the world, there is always more to learn. Although the development of critical thinking skills can take time, there are certain practices that can help to advance your knowledge, attitudes, and skills. With practice, as well as powerful changes to your cognition, you can improve your ability to analyze information, and ultimately make the best decisions for your life. Being a strong active listener is fundamental for successful communication and advancing your critical thinking skills. Active listening involves making a conscious effort to listen attentively and process the information that is being offered. This includes noticing both verbal and nonverbal indications that would be needed for creating a solution. With good active listening skills, the listener should be able to understand the context, make logical connections, as well as be able to restate what was being said by the speaker. The listener should not be formulating their rebuttal or responses to the speaker, or thinking about something that is completely unrelated. Active listening will help too. Avoid missing any important information that is beneficial for drawing conclusions. Reduce conflict and misunderstandings. Build trust and connections with others. Further one's critical thinking skills. When it comes to exceptional critical thinking, the key is exceptional questioning. Asking the right questions will lead to new insights, innovation, and breakthroughs. In order to formulate great questions, it's important to slow down, listen, and truly reflect on what is being analyzed. Critical thinkers ask questions on topics that they are not familiar with, as well as when they are seeking to confirm their knowledge. Questions can spark significant changes throughout your life. They are not only great for learning new information about a topic, but they will also inspire new ways of thinking. Critical thinkers should never abandon the questioning process. At a first glance, big problems can often become overwhelming. An analytical approach to problem solving will help to eliminate feelings of overwhelm or stress, and improve your ability to think critically. The key is to recognize that big problems are simply a collection of smaller problems. When you invest your time in breaking down your problems into smaller pieces, these problems will become easier to digest and solve, generating ideas for solving the bigger problem. Start by asking questions, such as what smaller issues might be driving this big problem? Or what is the problem composed of? A complex problem instantly becomes an easier one to solve. Solutions will begin to emerge, leading you closer to the final problem-solving stage. Emotions play a crucial role in the critical thinking process. They enable critical thinkers to process information efficiently with an open mind, as well as encourage motivation. However, it is important to be mindful of emotions with decision-making, as emotions can sometimes cloud our judgment. Emotions should not be ignored altogether when thinking critically, but rather managed and channeled in productive ways. Ultimately, your success in any situation will be a result of how you control your emotions. Emotional intelligence is identified as the ability to assess and control the emotions of oneself, others, and even groups. It's about being heart smart, as opposed to book smart. For instance, professionals need empathy when working with others regardless of their occupation in order to vicariously experience what others feel, believe, or wish. Sometimes the most powerful tool you have is your ability to think for yourself. Critical thinking is a self-disciplined and self-guided form of thinking. After you've read books, articles, or blogs, and listened to the advice of others, take some time to reflect on what you think about the situation. Your personal experiences are not to be dismissed altogether in decision-making and problem-solving. We all have a lot to offer, so consider your own thoughts and feelings when deciding which path to choose, or which solution to a problem is best for you. Brett was a financial officer in a medium-sized company. The owner of the company, Jared, uses his intuition when making decisions, instead of critically assessing the problem and coming up with a solution. He bases decisions on how he feels and acts quickly. Initially, Jared's way of doing business worked. Now that the economy has changed, Brett is concerned about the company's spending. Jared, however, is still making decisions in the same manner. Recently, Jared has requested funds to purchase several hybrid cars for company use. Instead of purchasing the cars as requested by Jared, Brett asked, "Why do we need new hybrid vehicles? Our current vehicles are working fine." Brett explained to Jared that this extra spending was unsustainable in the new market. When Jared initially protested, Brett informed him that making decisions based on emotions was not a good idea. He pointed out the recent dip in profits, and Jared agreed that he would need to change.